morning. Let's see, do we have a quorum yet? 1, 2. I guess we do, right, Justin? 3?
1, 2. Let's see. Who else? Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we've got Lori, Anna, and there's Kelly. All right. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Let's see. Sorry, let me pull up my. All righty. First item on the agenda, the approval of the minutes from the special lodgers tax meeting of November 16th, 2020. And Lori, if you've had a chance to look those over, if we have a motion to accept those minutes?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Lori.
Yes, I make a motion.
All right,
to
we do.
accept the minutes.
All righty, you have a motion, Anna. Do we have a second?
I second it.
All right. All right, minutes approved. Is Judy going to be on here, or do you want us to just skip on, Justin?
Judy, I just was sending her the link. I don't guess she got the invite, so I'm just making sure she's got the link. Is Jeff there with you?
Yes.
They're asking about the YouTube. Is it live? Steve Talley was asking.
It is.
It's on the VOR page. Okay. Sorry, technical stuff is that. Yeah, we'll just continue on. Justin, Judy's on her way up here, so we will just continue on. Let's see, Becky, we'll go and do the quarterly reports. Start with the Ruidoso Valley Chamber of Commerce and Becky Brooks.
Hi, good morning, you guys. Nice to see everybody. We are pretty much status quo over here. We're answering the phone still. Since Christmas, they have slowed down a little bit, but we have spring break coming around the corner, and it seems like people are planning more trips. We're doing, sending out whoever's asking for stuff in the mail, like your visitor guides, maps, whatever. We're sending out whatever we have here to the people that are requesting it. We do keep the brochures, the visitor guides here, and we're being able to help keep the shops in town that want them stocked, and the lodging places that want them can come get them. And right now, Deborah and I are still attending state legislation meetings with the State Chamber Association, watching different bills that are going through. It is a real unique legislative session. But there are some interesting bills out there, and we're hoping that they're listening to their constituents versus just ramming things through. And there's some pretty interesting bills, and Justin, one of them, I don't have the number on me now, but I'll text it to you later. But there's actually, I've got a page number and everything on that bill. You might want to watch it. It has to do with lodgers tax. And it's kind of just stuck in a bill that you wouldn't expect it to be in.
Okay.
So I just heard about that yesterday, and I'll send that to you.
Could you synopsize it for us if you have a general synopsis of what it is?
Well, it's going to change with something to do with the procurement of how lodgers tax money is spent. So I don't know the exact details. I'll have to pull that bill again. I'll get it this afternoon, and I'll highlight that part and send it to you. But it has to do with I think the whole bill has to do with procurement and maybe the anti-donation clause and all that. And somehow it's on page 25, they threw in some stuff that has to do with lodgers tax. So I'll look at that this afternoon and get that out to you guys, just to keep an eye on it, because they're having their legislative sessions. And typically you would have people there, like from the chambers and some of the other associations. And right now they're letting 1 to 2 people come in and testify. And if you don't fit their bill, apparently they're kind of jamming some stuff through.
Okay.
So that's something we want to just be aware of. especially when they start putting verbiage in bills that you wouldn't know by the title of the bill that it had anything to do with something. If it's kind of hidden in the verbiage, because those are big bills to read and not everybody pays a lot of attention because they're hard to read. So
Yeah. Well,
other
thank you.
than
for the heads
that,
up. Once you get that, I'll definitely dive into it as much as I can.
okay, right. And then I'm trying to follow the alcohol bills that are being dropped, and I have had some contact with Jasper, but we're trying to stay on top of that because we think that affects us. Obviously, we need to get these restaurants back up and open, and we need to find out whatever. We've had such screwball liquor laws for so many years that it will take probably an act of God or something to straighten them out. But nonetheless, it's something that we need to keep an eye on, watch out for. And that's kind of what we're doing. As you guys might not all know, but the chamber has not been taking funds. We haven't had funds from the lodger's tax since March a year ago. And we're just kind of sitting here until we are opening the visitor centers, and we're not going to do it until the governor says, let's do it with the state-run visitor centers. So we stand for question. Deborah and I are both here, obviously.
How does that alcohol bill look like? I've been kind of curious on that. And do you think it's going to end up carrying through?
Well, there's several of them, and some of them are better than others. One of them that I know Jasper is very much concerned with is the devaluation of a full liquor license, like he has they got for Hunt to Harvest. And there's bars out there that have mortgages, or they have that's their collateral. I mean, they might not even own the building. That's their collateral. And so banks are hysterical about it too, because then you have people that own those licenses that are, have money being borrowed from a bank, then the collateral's not there anymore. So they're pretty risky. They're pretty risky bills, and we are watching them closely. We go twice a week and meet with these, try to find out, what's happening, and they're watching them closer than I can watch them this year. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's crazy.
We did hear yesterday some rumors, and I don't know if it turned out it was just a rumor, but that the governor may indeed get us all to at least 25%, get us all to yellow.
We need that.
I know, we do. And we're pretty blessed as a community because so much of our population has been vaccinated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our numbers are down. Got an email from Todd yesterday at the hospital, and the numbers seem to be going down, and hopefully we don't have some mutant that comes in here and tries to, fly this thing back off the handle. But the numbers look pretty good yesterday.
Yeah, it's good. Does the board have any questions for the chamber?
Don't think so. Thank you, Becky, so much for keeping up with everything that's going on up there.
Yeah, we sure miss it. We came, it's been a year since we've been to Santa Fe, right? Yeah, first time. It's crazy.
All righty. Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Let's see. Booby Dog, Ruidoso Midtown Association. Matt.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone, or good morning. Hey, can I share my screen? Is that all right?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
All right, Justin made me do a presentation, so I gotta throw this baby out here now.
We can see your screen, so we look.
Okay.
I can see it.
Cool. If you guys haven't check out ruidosomainstreet.com. It's kind of where all of the happenings for the organization are being held. We're actually taking our website up for a kind of a rework. I think we're going to work with the agency at redoing some of this work just so that we are ultimately just stepping up our website game a little bit. So make sure you check it out. Right now, it's hosting a couple of our fundraising projects, as well as just some basic information and stuff like that. So if you haven't, check out RuidosoMainStreet.com. Just to kind of kick off what we've been doing over the past month, we've started the engraved tile fundraising project. This is where we put close to $18,000 into a physical update of the public restrooms there at Eagle and Suttereth. The plan with the project is to continue to create kind of a space within there. We're doing a tile project where you can purchase a 4x8 tile for $100 to commemorate your family, loved one, pet, or a special day. And the tiles will be implemented on the exterior walls of the Midtown bathroom project. The funds generated from this will ultimately go back into kind of a creative placemaking. We're looking at doing a mural at this particular spot, as well as a physical improvement projects throughout the district. So as of right now, we've been able to raise over $10,000. What I find very interesting about this fundraiser project, that I would say 80 to 90% of the funds coming in are from Texas. So these are our local tourists and guests that want to commemorate their names in our historical district. So what I also like about that is we're bringing in a new money into our district. So we'll see some other physical improvement projects here next quarter. I'll keep you guys up to date on all of that stuff as well. Just to kind of go back on everything, I keep metrics for the state, ultimately just to kind of prove that we're actually doing something. The community is reinvesting into its district. We've had 5 improvement projects throughout the district that ranged in just business owners fixing up their places. We had 1 new business added to the district with this past quarter, and that's Roots Ruidoso. If you guys haven't been down there, make sure that you go check it out. Awesome coffee, cocktail, kind of a lifestyle living retail store owned by Justin Huffman and Nanada. Those guys are doing a great job down there. Great addition to our district. This quarter, we rallied 30 volunteers for around 88 hours. It's probably one of our lowest volunteer quarters, just ultimately with the COVID, the pandemic. We've had to switch so many things around. So really getting a lot of that face-to-face volunteer service has kind of gone to the wayside, but our volunteers are ready to go. We did go after Public Cares Act funding for the organization. We were only able, through the whole round, we're able to get $2,800. So the organization has really been kind of, put up against a lot this year. And to only get $2,800 was pretty tricky. So we've gone after other grants. We've gone after tile fundraising project just to try to keep the lights on, so that whenever we get back to going to special events, we'll have enough resources to make that happen. Going back to the $10,000 New Mexico Oil and Gas Brighter Future Funds was a grant that I wrote for digital media content creation for our district, where we'll highlight 12 businesses with a 2-minute video, and then they'll have 4 subcategory videos that they can use for their online platforms. They're again promoting e-commerce, digital media content creation. We've already done 3 businesses, but ultimately ran out of funds until we were successful to bring in the NMOGA fund. So we're excited to work with these guys. This thing will highlight industry, highlight our special events, and just kind of showcase the district. So that's one thing that we'll be working on this year. So keep your eye out for that. Again, you can find all of our Main Street series on our YouTube page at Ruidoso Midtown Association. Just a couple quick business development things. We worked with Ruidoso Valley Chamber of Commerce a month ago or so and came up with a Small Business Saturday. Was just a outreach effort from the community just to ultimately bring awareness to the New Mexico tax-free holiday. That was a cool webinar. Again, if you want to hop on there, it is on our YouTube page. You can go back and review that. The next thing, we also have moved our virtual business mixers. This was a way to increase our district communication. We've gone virtual with this since no longer can meet up at the local drinking establishment. There again, just kind of all this stuff has gone to an online platform. You can find it all on our YouTube page. Just want to keep you guys abreast of the digital kiosk. I'm sure you guys are aware of some of the stuff that's going on with it. Just a kind of a basic breakdown within the lifestyle or the life cycle of the digital kiosk. We see that we've had close to 400,000 page views. It's looking like we're around 5,000 downloads. Just kind of a cool platform. Again, this thing has not been operational due to COVID, our touchscreen function. So I would think that once we come out of our COVID, after the pandemic, and we get our touchscreen function, that our usage will go up. This is just specifically mobile download. So does not include our physical kiosk that's in the heart of Midtown there. So kind of some interesting things. Just kind of looking at some of the demographics that's using the Ruidoso NM application. RuidosoMainStreet.com this year, or actually over its lifetime, has had 61,000 page views. So just kind of some cool analytics to show us trying to reach out to whoever's looking at this stuff. Real quick, a project that we have in the works is a realignment of Rio Street. We were approached by the village to start working with New Mexico Main Street architects to come up with some renderings and some concepts for the area. We really feel that the trash can, parking lot, pedestrian usage are all underserved in this area, and what it would look like to go in and basically come up with a plan that would increase all of these. So kind of stay in the mix here. We're not really releasing it out just because we want to see what the conceptual renderings are. We will work with business owners and get the input from the public moving on this project. So kind of a cool way. I think it would be a way to increase traffic flow around the district, especially during special events. And also just be a welcoming site for our guests and our locals that are visiting the district to have a nice public parking facility that they feel comfortable and clean to visit. Other than that, I think that's kind of all the stuff we've been working on for this quarter. I would like to say that I'll just stand for questions.
When do you have to have your grant executed by, Matt? How quick do you have to spend that money?
So we have till December 31st, 2021.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we'll
And you said
work
it's
with,
gonna be about 12. You think it'll be about 12 different businesses that'll get highlighted?
yeah, specifically, unless it takes off. I think that there's more funds out there that I've been tracking. I'd like to get more grants and ultimately game plan, try to execute 126 businesses in the Midtown district. So we're 10% of the way there. We just need the funding to do so. You guys know that our entire just kind of like operation has changed with special events not being a no-no. So we're just trying to stay creative, but also still serve our place in the community.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Does anybody else have any questions for Matt? Right, Matt, thank you so much for everything you're doing. Let's see, moving on, or let's go ahead and backtrack. I'm sorry, we have Judy Starkovich here. We'll go over the budget report.
Good morning, Largest Tax Committee. So this would be the report for December 31st, which ends quarter two of fiscal year 2021. And year-to-date, largest tax receipts are $1,093,000. So when you look at prior year activity, we're only down 1.792% from prior year. So we have met the budget. We're currently in the good, I guess, $150,000. So when you look at expenditures for the quarter ending, we've expended $351,000, and we have another $390,000 left in encumbrances for the remaining rest of the year. And our ending cash balance in the bank was $995,000. So we're still chugging along. We're holding our own, so that's good. At this point, I know there's some items on the list that we can talk about when we get there. So just keep that in mind. We're doing okay when we get there. Any questions? Okay.
I think we're good. Thank you, Judy. Let's see. Okay, moving on. Parks and Rec. Rodney?
So for our report, I'm going to actually let Jasmine review our report.
Cool, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. So we have a presentation. I don't know if you want me to share my screen also, but I can hopefully just run through it. You want me to share my screen?
Yeah, go ahead and share your screen.
Okay. Let's see.
I think mainly so the people that are on the Zoom and all that, or the other meeting can see it.
Perfect. Here we go. All right, so. Okay, so we'll kind of go over our capital projects update. So for our Cree Meadows Trail, it's under construction right now. The construction of the Cree Meadows Trail. So the bid is out for February 2021, and construction should start in April of this year. For Moon Mountain, it is currently under design. The design should be completed in spring of 2021, and the construction bid should go out in April, and then construction should start around June. For the Lynx Trail rehabilitation, it's currently under design. The 30% design was completed in December. And hopefully the whole project should be completed the rehabilitation should be completed by spring. For Alto and Grindstone Lake, so a couple of numbers for October, we didn't have any boat permits, annual boat permits that is, but we did have 58 day permits that were sold, and that's a combination of online and physical at the self-pay station. We did continue the reservation system up until January. So we did have 1,787 weekend reservations for October. In November, we did kind of see it slow down. We had 132 reservations. And then in December, we only had 64 weekend reservations. And again, this just covers Saturday and Sunday. And then that executive order was expired on January 1st. So there's some totals there. For our programming and activities, we did have a pretty busy fall into December. So we did the Glow in the Dark Disc tournament in October that had 44 participants. We had another 3D archery shoot in Moon Mountain that had 40 participants. The Haunted Drive-Thru, of course, was sold out for both nights. And we had about 240 registered vehicles. And then the movie also about 120 vehicles for that. In the month of October, we had about 18 bike rentals. In November, we also did our COVID Safe Toss No Mas. Our numbers were definitely down for that annual activity with 30 participants and 50 bags of trash. Usually we have about a couple to a few hundred participants. And then we held our annual turkey trot. We did it virtually. We had about 20 participants and collected, I would say, about a box full of canned goods for the food bank. In December, we did our Trail of Lights at Wingfield Park, which was a huge hit. And it was open from December 4th until January 18th. In that amount of time, we had over 5,000 visitors. We put a trail counter on that trail, so that's how we were able to pull those numbers. We also hosted the drive-through display and laser show, which had over 300 people attend that. Over 300 vehicles, so that's actually way more people. But we also held our first ever house decorating competition. We had 250 community members vote. So then that means that they went out and did the tour that we partnered with the widget to host that kind of map on there. So it was also successful. We gave out, P&M actually donated gift cards to the winners for that. And then, of course, we are working with the KRUI, the Mountain, with our programming. We have programming 6 days a week. We've added ski reports for the season. We have added a Saturday segment called Let's Talk Music. And those are kind of just a recap of what the programming is, what our PSAs were for each month, and our ad clients. So yeah, that's, we did want to mention, it's not on the report, but we did also recently, we have got the property out in Alto that we're looking to kind of create more of a inviting area at Alto Lake. So we'll have concessions similar to the ones that are operating at Grindstone. And we're hoping to have a kids pond with some seating areas and really designated as a kids and maybe senior area. So that's our presentation, and I'll stand for any questions.
Question?
Go ahead, Deborah.
Did I hear you right? Access to the lakes is no longer restricted to just Lincoln County residents?
Correct. So that executive order expired January. We haven't really advertised that. If folks call to our office, we are letting them know that it is open to the public. We just haven't really pushed any sort of, messaging around that yet.
Yeah, because we've still been telling people they can't go.
Oh. Well.
Yeah, and I was on social until, I guess, a week or two ago, whenever you guys let us know, so.
We will be better at communicating that to you all as partners. And I know it was a decision kind of made not to fully advertise it, but if folks have been calling or messaging us, we have kind of let them know that the executive order expired and it is open to the public. So, and that is just as of January 1st.
Well, I forgot to tell Deborah because she was at jury duty last week. So I just failed to tell her, but I do want y'all to know because people do call us and we've been absolutely telling them the lakes were closed if you didn't. So, I mean, it's not like we're just advertising it or it's on social. We're telling people on the phones.
Right. Okay, so yeah. And someone else.
And do you still have to have reservations on Saturday and Sunday?
No, we also removed the reservation system as of January 1st. So folks are welcome to go without a reservation. Of course, following public health orders, but no reservations are required, and it is not open to only Lincoln County residents and property owners. Any other questions?
Yeah, I had a question. The kid pond thing that you were talking about, when do you anticipate that being open?
So Kelly, I'll speak more about that. So I don't know if it was clear to everybody. So the adjacent home, which was formerly the old post office and a restaurant, that is the property that the village acquired. And so we have initiated a conceptual plan process for that. I hope to have that conceptual plan completed within the month. And then my goal is to have some aspect of the kids pond and operating concessions available as early as May. some of those improvements, or the one that's going to be vital really to operate that as a kids pond, a need is going to be a footbridge to cross from the residence over the diversion, connecting it to the lake. Other than that, we've already started communications with the Department of Game and Fish. They have been aware that this was a want by the village for several years to change that into a kids pond. So they will work with us to stock that lake. However, with the way that their rules are adopted each year, it probably won't be officially designated, at least on the state level, as a kids pond until the fall of this year. But again, the plan is to open on some level this year, again, as early as May.
Thank you.
I think I went down to the lake. I thought the beach looks awesome. Super stoked about the improvements you guys have done down there. I know that you guys have all taken some heat. Your department has taken heat, and the village has taken heat from some people. But I think it's just been an amazing improvement on that asset that we have, and it's just super exciting seeing the beach go in. And I was like chuckling to myself just thinking that we're going to have a beach to go hang out at in the middle of the mountains. So I'm excited about that. And the laser light show, I think you guys should be applauded for. That was an absolute blast. It was just a great event, and I think it was when people were just dying to have something to do. So that was huge. And your department is just always seems to be the rock stars, and you guys are doing a great job. I went out and talked to Tom Dorgan and Casey Dorgan about the expansion out there at the Winter Park. I'm also very excited about that. If anyone on the call is unaware, fall of 2021, they are going to be getting a mountain coaster, and it should be up and running by then. Supposedly, it's going to be one of the largest mountain coasters in North America. So they weren't sure if they were going to be able to have the record for the largest, but they said that it may end up being the longest mountain coaster in North America, which is just another great addition to the community. And I know that you guys, Rodney, you guys have worked really hard to kind of urge them into getting that operation more than just the winter. And then they did let me know that Memorial Day weekend that they're going to be offering summer tubing. So as the snow melts, they'll have a couple of summer tubing mats that they'll be able to operate out there. And again, that's just hard work that I think that you guys at Parks and Rec are doing that maybe a lot of people don't realize, but it adds a lot to the community. So thank you for all that.
Does anybody else have any other questions? All righty. Rodney, I will second you and Jasmine. You know, your department has done a terrific job. That Wingfield Park light walkthrough was spectacular. I know there were so many people. We had guests, residents that just raved about it, and so that was awesome. It was nice to go to the rack at 5 a.m. and still see the lights on every morning. So thank you for all you guys do. All right, Ruidoso Convention Center, David.
Good morning, everybody. Steve is here also. I don't know if you can see Steve Talley held, and we're crossing our fingers also. Weekly calls, daily calls are being made, sales calls, and we're just doing the best that we can right now to fill any vacancies that we have from canceled events up into the future calendars. There's really not that much other than that to report on my end, though, guys.
I know you look forward to the day when you can report a lot more. Does anybody have any questions?
So looking just into the fall, knowing that we're, or at least having some indications that we may actually be getting out of this, have you had quite a few people just reaching out to you, just kind of putting in feelers for those events? Do you foresee a us being able to recapture a lot of these events that were hosted at the convention center? What kind of a loss are we expecting on some of these events? Do you have any that would indicate positive or negative to the current situation?
Sure, and even in the January through March of this year, we're trying to get them in the calendar as soon as they cancel. We're trying to get them for later in the year 2021. So everybody's very positive about continuing it to hold their events. It's just a matter of when they're allowed, when we're allowed.
So Justin, this is Steve. So yeah, folks tell us that they're coming back and they are ready to book, but until the governor allows us to actually open the doors, they're not putting it on paper yet. So we have their normal spots saved for them, but we're not sending out contracts. They don't want to sign contracts until they're allowed to by the governor.
Okay. I was kind of curious.
But those days, 2021, we are holding those tentative dates that we rescheduled, even if it's not the regular dates. So we're working as best we can with these guys to make sure that we bring them back and they don't go anywhere else whenever the restrictions are lifted. We're holding them. We're talking to them constantly.
What about like events that maybe would ordinarily take place in July, but we know that's not realistic? Like what, I don't know, like let's say if it was a sanctioned event or something like that, like are they going to be allowed an option to potentially reschedule in fall as at that same pricing? Or because I know that complicates stuff, so how is that going to work?
They are. We're giving them the option. If we have an open date that we don't usually have anybody in, we're giving them that first pick of it. So they're going to be able to change to a different date. So the pricing would change for them as well if they go to it, like from a summer to a fall event.
So for us, because we did sign the contracts, we had to cancel our wine fest, but we did sign a contract for the next one, and we got the Jubilee straightened out. Looks like hopefully that might be able to happen this year. For Art Fest, we did also get additional optional dates in case our July date doesn't work. The unfortunate part of that is that it's going to cost us quite a bit more. And if it does happen, there's also a chance that it will happen with less artists and less people coming in. So then we have to weigh some stuff out on that. So that's kind of, up to you guys how that's going to work. But it looks like we were told that we will see a fairly significant increase in cost. I mean, we want to do it, but if we can only have half the artist and the cost is X amount more, then it might not be something that works. We want to do it more than anything, just to let y'all know. I mean, we hate losing Art Fest 2 years in a row.
Yeah, I just think we got to make sure and think about helping these event organizers as much as we can to be accommodating, just because my concern is losing these events. The state's really concerned about the longevity of some of these events and if we're going to be able to sustain them. So I advocate as much as we can for these event organizers and whatever we can do to support them so that we're not losing these events. Because as we've seen, the more events that we have, the better off that we are in the long run, and the more that we fill in those shoulder weekends and we continue seeing our GRT and our lodgers tax grow. So whatever we can do to support these event organizers, I'm always going to advocate for that, because to me it just has such a positive impact on the community and the amount of heads and beds that we're seeing. So that's why I just wanted to ask that question.
Yeah,
I appreciate you asking that. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was going to say I'm with you on that, and also with hearing what Becky is up against. So when the doors do come back open, if we find that we need to negotiate, then we'll go to the village and see if we can have a 6 or 12 month period that we can negotiate rates a little bit if we have to. That's a good idea.
Awesome.
Okay,
Thank you.
we did schedule that, Steve, for the last weekend, which is also the first weekend in October, November, because there is a chance we can't do it. But I also want to do one more plug on Art Fest, y'all. This is the 50th year. God, we gotta have it. The artists are just chomping at the bit to get here.
All right, does anybody else have anything on this? David, Steve, thank you very much. All right, you're up.
Did my internet cut out or
Yeah, I did for just a second, so.
am I up?
You're up, yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. Whoops. Sorry, just pulling it up now. All right.
Justin, do you want Carrie and I to go after you, or do you want us to go before?
You guys can go before.
I think technically we're next. Alan just
Yeah.
skipped over us.
Okay.
I did, I'm sorry. I can't make marks on my phone. I didn't bring my papers, so.
Hey,
My bad. So we'll back up. Let's back up. We'll go with the agency and Carrie and Kelly. Thank you.
It's okay. I understand. Carrie, I think, is going to share our presentation because it's all combined.
Yeah.
And so I'll go through my part, and then she can handle all the rest.
Whoa.
Can you guys all see the screen?
Can you see my screen? Okay.
Yes?
Yes, yeah, we can.
Okay. Okay, so overall, these are the stats for just our tourism channels on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can see that our impressions were down a little bit over October to December. Some of that is related to in that first quarter, not so much, the July or part of August, but going in from August to September, we were able to open up a little bit more in terms of, you could come into the state with a negative test. And so we really jumped on that in terms of advertising for the fall. And so that's part of the reason why our numbers are down. And then you can see in November, just with the shutdown, things were down again. The spikes in the followers gained are related also to when we had the snowstorm at the end of October, and then the one right after Thanksgiving, early December. The good news, though, is that engagement was up during that time. And then the traffic to the website was also down a little bit during this time period. But, the fact that we are putting out content that folks are engaging in, and like I said, some of that is related to the early snowstorms. But, across the board, we did have a little bit of an audience gain at 2%. So one of the, we just in the last couple weeks did a presentation to the council in terms of the strategic planning process. And in that meeting, we laid out some of our goals in terms of growth that we're looking to have it for followers, engagements, overall impressions, traffic to the website. So we'll be monitoring that throughout the year and making sure we're hitting those benchmarks. Next slide. Here's, like I mentioned, in terms of engagement, the spike there end of October was that early pre-Halloween snowstorm. And then again, we had one kind of right after Thanksgiving. So that was what that increased engagement was over Q1. Same thing in terms of impressions, but like you see, we're down a little bit. A lot of that has to do with when we were shut down. We really pulled back on the amount of content we were putting out during that time, which is very different than normal years when that's when we'd be really pushing for the holidays and into the new year. So you can see here are some of the top Facebook posts during that time. Again, they were all really snow related. But over 76,000 engagements for that early snow when we had that 7+ inches. Anytime we have snow, it's going to have good engagement. Same thing for Instagram. Here are just some of those posts. And then also for Twitter. One of the things that I think I mentioned briefly in the last meeting, and I know we talked about it to council, we, as part of, so the state has kind of shifted how they are funding some of their events. And so through the New Mexico Tourism Department, we were able to get a social media audit done back in November, December. And then the second half of that is they are now providing content, 2 posts a week for the entire year. And those will go on Facebook and Instagram. And it was nice because out of the audit, there were a few areas they highlighted that we could do to improve. Some of those related to Pinterest, which we had already talked about internally, focusing more on. Kudos to Justin for getting it set up, but we were the first area to have a TikTok, and so he's been active on that. And just some other things that they had recommended in terms of content and updating our profiles a little bit. So it was nice to have a fresh set of eyes, but they were also very complimentary of what we're doing down here. And the same with the content moving forward for this next year. It's been nice to have, that they can pull from their photo library, from their influencers, to give us kind of just a different set of eyes. It has been challenging though, just in January and February, because they were very snow heavy in their content, because being in Santa Fe and, content for the state and for northern New Mexico, just they have more snow up there. So we've had to adjust a little bit on that, but they've been really flexible and helping swap out photos to make it seem more in the moment. That's one thing that I told them that we pride ourselves on, is we like it to look how it looks outside of our window. And that's kind of what our audience has come to anticipate, is that if we're posting something, that it's going to look pretty similar to what's on the webcam or something that's happened within the last week or so. So yeah, there's a few more slides. So in terms of YouTube, here are some of the videos that had the top views. So actually this YOLO video that had the top views during this time was something that we had posted a few years back. So it just shows that, even if something's posted on YouTube, it can still get some traction. Matt, I think you're talking. Can you mute yourself? Okay, and then in terms of Pinterest, this is one that we have not necessarily highlighted in our past presentations, but we did with not having as much content to put out on our other platforms. We really focused on Pinterest during this time. We created some unique graphics and boards to drive traffic back to the website. So these are 2 that Alden created. We have others in terms of like places to stay, travel guides, and those are 2 of our top performing boards. But as you can see, just in this short time span, we've really had a pretty significant increase across the board in terms of audience and engagement and impressions. And since Pinterest is really an area that people use to get inspiration and plan vacations, that's one of the reasons why we're ramping up our efforts on that platform as we look to the new year. I already talked about this, but I'll go into it a little bit more. So one of the platforms that the tourism department is using and is giving us access to is Buffer. It's a social media management tool. And so as you can see that they've already plotted in kind of content for the month. We use Sprout Social for a lot of our stuff, and because we really like the analytics to Sprout. But this is something that we all have access to, and so if we needed to hand it off to anyone at any time, we'd be able to. But also for the state purposes, the reason why they're scheduling in there is so they can get analytics from not only us, but from all of the different municipalities and ski areas and stuff that they're working with, so that they'll have an overall idea of what the social impact from this program was across the state. Any questions on just general social media before I jump into advertising? Okay. So over the course of October to December, our overall ad spend was down. Again, a lot of that was just related to being shut down for part of that time. But we have kept a consistent advertising in terms of pushing the Ruidoso Safe message. So even though we can't have our traditional advertising, to come visit, we've been really pushing the wear a mask, practice Ruidoso Safe, get tested, and now about information about the vaccine. But you can see in terms of just our dollar spend, impressions, link clicks, kind of across the board, we were down during this time. Here's one of the ads. It was a video ad that Justin produced, and it highlights our first responders. And so this is something that we ran not only locally, but also targeting visitors as they came into the community, because we know that they were still coming. But then also we did have it across the state of New Mexico. Just, continue to keep Ruidoso, New Mexico safe. We know a lot of areas don't have the benefit of an ad budget like we do. And so we wanted to do our part to really help keep pushing the COVID safe practices. And this ad is on our YouTube channel. So if you want to check it out, you can do that. Like I mentioned, we were kind of September, October did run a little bit of, there's still time to plan your fall getaway. And so this is one that we did target those kind of surrounding states with lookalike and then retargeting when you were able to travel with a negative test. And you can see the results there on that for this ad particular. And then, like I mentioned, these are just some actual static posts that we did on both Facebook and Instagram. So the ones that we targeted visitors and New Mexicans, those ads were driving traffic back to the Discover website. The ones that we ran on the Village Facebook page, the municipality page, those were sent back to the ruidoso-nm.gov page. So the messaging is just a little bit different for each of those if it's locals versus visitors. And then I think Justin's going to talk more about website traffic, but here's just a quick snapshot in terms of what the traffic looked like. That should say October to December up there at the top, not July to September. And then I think the next slide is the top pages. Yeah, so not surprising. Ruidoso Webcam is the top. And then anytime that someone asks for what's the latest guidelines, can I come visit? Can I eat inside? We just have been pointing people directly to this page on the website that Ellen's great about updating every 2 weeks or when something changes regarding the latest guidelines from the state. Any questions on any of my stuff before Carrie moves into the PR and municipality?
I just want to say, anytime we talk to the state, it's always a conversation of us being a leader in social media, us having a very strong presence on social media. And Kelly just does such a great job with it. She every single day she's on top of it. And I mean, she agonizes over pictures daily, so it's in such good hands. And just thank you so much for paying that much attention to detail with it and being a leader in the state. And I think it really shows with, the mitigating the impacts of COVID and obviously growth in the future. But you just do a great job. And I mean, that is being recognized at the state level as well.
Thanks.
Okay, I am going to go through the top of my report fairly quickly just because I want to spend a little bit of time talking about a new tool that we have on the back end of my report. The social overview on the municipal side of things, the On Facebook and Twitter, our total followers are up by about 10%. We've got 86,571. And so we have a total net follower growth of about 8,000 this quarter. And on Twitter, a net follower growth of 21.7%. So that's all going in the right direction. The engagement, impressions and engagement were slightly down over both quarters, but both quarters, comparing Q1 to Q2, we're still on track to hit the goals that we had set out. So you can see there the spikes that you see are related to grindstone announcements and then just the public health order updates and announcements. You can see our top Facebook posts concur with that. So the grindstone and public health orders, and then the Ridoso Safe campaign. On the municipal site, the website traffic from the beginning of October to the end of December, year to year, the total visits, we were up 56%. And in impressions, we had 2.5 million, and we had almost 36,000 link clicks. So those are very good numbers. There's the popular content on the website homepage, no surprise. The COVID Crisis Response Center, and then the COVID-19 page, both of those, which house all the information that we continually update. So again, no surprise there that those are the popular places that people are going to get information. We did a countywide testing blitz and a Ridoso Safe testing blitz that we rolled into the Ridoso Safe campaign and just added testing as one of the components. And so we kind of redid the Ridoso Safe look that you guys had seen and become familiar with over the last few months. And that was when the Department of Health switched over to the curative test, which was the self-administered oral swab. And so we did a big push on that and redid all the collateral for that. So that was one of the campaigns that we rolled out in that quarter. On the website, we added some microsites for the new radio shows. And so we did the Village Volume and the Outdoor Hour. And it might be kind of hard to see here, but these blocks down here, these black color bars, are each of the episodes. And so you can go, Jasmine sends them to us every week and we post them, and then you can go back and you can listen to the old episodes. And we're currently right now in the process of building out a complete website for the radio station that will be dedicated to KRUI. And so this was kind of an in-between step so that we had a place to house the stuff for the radio site or for the radio station. And then now they're going to have their own website that will be tied into the Parks and Rec site and to the Village site. And so at our next quarterly report, you'll be seeing that new website rolled out. The sewer project, they started construction on that on November the 12th. And so we have been working with Moles and Corbin and SAK crews on every week. They give us 2 weeks ahead of time what their plans are going to be. And so we're responsible for getting that information out and what addresses will be affected, what traffic patterns, closures, anything will be affected. So we do that on the ridososewerproject.com, on the Village website, and on our social channels as well to keep the public informed of what is happening. There's just a quick list of the different things that we did PR about during the quarter. It was a little bit of a slow quarter. That's always good. And then here's where I wanted to spend just a little bit of time. The agency, we've used Cision for years, and if you're not familiar with Cision, Cision is an online tool that media agencies and PR agencies use to contact members of the media and online bloggers, you name it. It's just a great tool where you can put media lists together, put influencer lists together, and you can pitch story ideas and send out press releases, and it automatically updates when, people make moves or whatever. And so we've subscribed to that for several years, and we recently added their monitoring service. And so it's a very, very robust tool. And so what you can do now is we can go in and we can put Ruidoso, any event, if we want to just do Ruidoso as a whole, if we want to focus on specific coverage of a specific event, we can hone it down, have it be very wide, and it will track mentions, reach, the value of your coverage. And so you can really get down into real finite information about, whatever it is that you are trying to find out your press coverage about. And so like this first graph over here mentions, you can see that in the quarter from October to December, we had 1,000 mentions. And that is, hold on just a second, I am going to, so mentions are the distribution of clips over time, and each clip that they find in their coverage counts as one mention. The reach, this is a very important number here in the middle. The UVPM that you see is unique visitors per month, and so that's tracking anything that shows up online, on a website and social, anything like that. And then the reach that's anything in print or broadcast. So it's the distribution, that number, those two numbers right there are kind of your overall. So if you can see in the quarter, it was 989.9 million was our UVPM, and our reach was 5.8 million. So when you see numbers like that, you know that, Ruidoso, and that's just any time the word Ruidoso is used in a story, in an online blog, in a social media post, a hashtag, anything. And then the value of the coverage, they have a proprietary formula that they calculate all of this on, and it spits out a number for you. And so they can tell you that all of this that you see over here in the first two graphs equates to $223,000 in publicity. And so that's basically, we're looking at free publicity that we did not have to pay for. And so that, gives us we can add that to our spend. We can say, okay, here's how much we spent and here's how much added publicity that we got. It also shows you your sentiment over time. So you can look at the distribution of sentiment of clips over time. And so, that'll tell you the kind of the lifespan of stories, and then the share of the sentiment. If it's in this circle graph, you can see if it's neutral, positive, or negative. And so obviously, if you're looking at this graph and it's a lot of red, that's not good. So when you see a lot of blue, a lot of green, then that's where you want to be. And then it breaks it down. You can see the coverage by media type. So, you can really delve into who's covering you, what are is it mostly online? Is it mostly television? And so you can really dig into that type of research. You can look into mind share and voice over time. And then it can give you your top outlets, so you can see where are you being mentioned the most and what their reach is and what the publicity value is for those places where you're being mentioned the most. And then just they'll do a word cloud for you, so you can just in a glance see what some of the top words are that are drawing in your search. And so I just I know this is a lot of stuff, but I wanted to just include all this to show you how robust this tool is and how I think it's really going to bring a lot to the table when we're looking at our markets and where are we getting a lot of mention, what kind of mentions are we getting. And so I know Kelly and I are both very excited about being able to have this tool at our fingertips. And, just as an aside, on the part that we have been using for the last several years, I used it a couple of weeks ago when I pitched the story about the Fabulous Ladies Book Club and, put the pitch together for that and built the media list in there and got it out using Cision. And we all know, where that went. And so that shows you the power that this has. And so it's, we've been able to monitor the coverage on that as well. And so I just think for tourism and for the municipality, this is going to be very, very good for us to be able to track a lot of this stuff. So any questions on any of the social and website stuff for the municipality or for this new tool? Okay, I'll just go real quick. There's not a whole lot on the creative report because as we've alluded to, we just kept a lot of CSP and Ridoso Safe as kind of our message. This was a full page ad that was, I believe it was a freebie that we had via another buy. And so we just did a kind of an image ad on that. And then you can see we changed the billboard at the Y in Ridoso. That is the chamber billboard. And so we did the Ridoso Safe campaign there. And if you haven't had a chance to take a look at that, it looks awesome. And then here's the other ads that we did. And as you can see, it's just the Ridoso Safe and the CSP messages. So that's it on the creative side. So it's all yours, Justin. If there
now it's my turn.
Me. Yep.
Hey, I got a piece. I've got paper now, so I can mark it off. I know where we're at. Carrie, Kelly, thank you so much. Man, that program is awesome. That's going to do some really good things. That was neat to see the book club, and I didn't realize that started with that program. So, man, that sky's the limit on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still getting hits on that story. So at the next meeting, we can have a full report on what that reaches. And some of the stories they do mention Ruidoso, and some of them they don't. But we still are able to track like what the overall impact of that story was.
And interestingly enough, the story that talked about Ruidoso the most, I think, was the interview they aired on the BBC News.
So we're going to get a British invasion.
Yeah.
All right, Justin.
All right. I always like attaching these full reports just so you can see them. I mean, overall website sessions are down. It's no surprise. A lot of people are not, or at least we're not planning trips. It does seem like there's going to be a trend where people are going to start planning trips, so we should see the recovery coming back in this, but it's really no surprise that those overall website sessions are down. It is interesting. New sessions are up, which means that new people are continuing to discover us. So that gives me a lot of hope in the recovery. And I think just a lot of people are looking to road trip, hopefully moving forward as more people get vaccinated. Some of that local travel, we have seen an influx, and this is anecdotally, we've seen an influx in our retail outlets and just talking to different retailers in Midtown from local Albuquerque traffic, whereas a lot of that, typically we see when Albuquerque and northern New Mexico go to the mountains, they go north, they don't come south. We have been seeing a lot of traffic from Albuquerque, and it actually does correlate to the change on the website as well, comparing that to the same quarter last year. Looking at Phoenix, we've had a tremendous increase in Arizona interest in us. And again, that was, us kind of trickling in advertising last year, or really actually aggressively going after advertising last year. This year, we, as Kelly and them have shown you, and as we've shown you throughout the year, we really haven't been advertising other than the COVID safe practices stuff. And even with that, haven't really been hitting Phoenix hard. So that's encouraging that people are very interested in finding us and continuing seeing that traffic come our way. If we're looking just the breakdown, this kind of just shows you our demographic breakdown. We don't need to dive into that too much. I mean, one of the big differences, if you notice the paid search, we're just not, we're not running that right now. Again, it's our commitment to the community to keep our community as safe as possible. Did I lose connection?
You did for just a second, but you're back.
Okay, I just had a notification popped up on my computer. Okay. But again, I was just saying that we haven't been running the paid search like we had in the past, so you're not going to see that makeup there. But other than that, we have been, obviously trying to keep the COVID safe practice messaging out there, so people are finding us in other ways. Looking at the visit widget, I can never figure out on a PDF how to take one of these and turn it sideways. As soon as I turn it sideways and I save it, it flips back. So just turn your head like this and read that if you want. This is that visit widget that we
lost you for a second again, Justin. Justin, can you start over?
Bad internet.
I don't know what's going on with our internet down here on Sudderth, but I keep freezing up too.
Justin, can you hear us?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Hopefully that helps. Okay, I just connected to my cell phone instead of the internet, so maybe that'll be more stable.
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay, cool. Well, the visit widget, what I do find interesting is people are still utilizing this when they're traveling to come see us. We've obviously kept an eye on the ones or the one that there in Midtown. The one at the convention center, for obvious reasons, is getting no usage right now. But we are excited, once we can kind of see some things get to normal, Matt and I will go down to the one in Midtown and get that kiosk up and running, so that outdoor kiosk is actually an interactive touchscreen instead of just a video grid. Kind of shows you our top spots where people are coming from and seeing us from, which is, of course, congruent with what the website is showing us. Odd one right here, Boston, Massachusetts. So the reason I think that's on there is because Visit Widget accidentally sent me a list for another community out of Massachusetts. And so what I did was add them to our email distribution list. So anytime we send out an email, they get that. So that may be why those folks pop up there on our Visit Widget analytics. I was like, well, if you're giving me free information, I'll take it and utilize it. I kind of want to get into what we're going to look at moving forward. I shared this with council, so I'm not going to go into the full version with you guys. And honestly, for the first part here, I'm going to skip Buxton Analytics, and that's actually on the agenda, and we're going to be tabling that for now. There's a couple things that we need to work on, or I say the village needs to work on internally, just because it is such a powerful tool. So we won't be getting into the Buxton stuff, but I'm sure down the road, we'll be able to have that conversation and give you guys a little bit more insight into Buxton and how we plan to utilize it. But for now, we're just going to go ahead and table that in. But the decision was made after we had already got this agenda out and about. So some of the stuff that I want to discuss is going to be right here. So there's I think, as Judy said, we're looking financially healthy. We're not having the huge impacts that a lot of the state's seeing. And I mean, we're down almost 2%, but you do have to remember we cut our budget by a little bit more than 50%. So we went very conservative, and I think that that's going to allow us to hopefully make some investments to help us pull ourselves out of this and really try to recover economically as quickly as possible. One of the ways that I would like to look at doing that is I would like to partner with Parks and Rec and look at the potential of lodgers tax funding a stage. I've looked at a lot of other communities where they work through their Parks and Rec department to get these mobile stages. I think it would be a great asset for the village to have. I've actually priced a stage, and we can get a high quality stage. We worked with the state and one of their event coordinators to get some information, and then we spoke directly to a manufacturer. But we can actually get a stage delivered directly to us. They actually call it the Parks and Rec stage. That's the joking name of it. It's SL100, I believe is what it's called. But it's a 24 by 20 mobile stage, full hydraulic system, unfolds. It's an amazing stage for about 160 grand. And then backline, meaning like speakers and lights and other stuff like that, I think would probably come in at another 50. I have to get a separate quote for that. So I think that it would be a good investment for us to at least consider moving down the road, especially as we're coming into budget season and we feel like we're still kind of trending at a reasonably healthy, at somewhere reasonably healthy. And the reason I'd like to do that is because I think for a couple, we could step in from a community standpoint, and if we are identifying that we've lost a lot of events, we could step in and really help to reinvigorate some of those shoulder season. And I just had some random ideas here, but in the past we've done our Midtown Summer Concert Series. I would like to continue that. I think that we could utilize the stage to do that this summer if we can get to where we can have some outdoor events and stuff going on. And then maybe finish it with an end of summer music festival, just a little mini 2-day music festival. Again, this is, if we have to step in and we have to be the event organizers in the community, at least initially, I think that it would be great for us to be able to fill that role and do that to help put beds. And I think we could do it fairly cost effectively. And again, these are just ideas here. I'd also doing some stuff with Parks and Rec, like hosting a yoga and wellness festival. I think that there's a vacuum in the state for an event like this. There is only one other event that I found in the state that does, and it was up in Albuquerque. I have no clue if it's going to continue. I think it would be a great event for us to try to leverage, and it's a little bit different than just music and booze, like what a lot of the events end up turning into. So, but I think with this stage, it's going to give us a lot of abilities to think creatively, identify, some of our weak points, and identify some of the opportunities, and really execute without a whole lot of overhead, and be pretty agile in our execution. The other thing that the stage is going to allow us to do is, if you are hosting a music festival, I don't know if you're aware, but a lot of these stages can cost quite a bit of money to rent. For example, the one that was rented for the All-American Country Music Festival, the big stage, $30,000 investment, and you're looking at another 30 grand to rent the speakers, lights, and all that stuff. So if it was something that Parks and Rec had, they could offer it for a low cost rental. I think it would really help to attract some of these event organizers to our area and put us on a map as a very event friendly place where people are going to want to invest their event dollars in. One of the other things that I was looking at with Midtown, and I really wanted to get it executed this summer until COVID smacked us in the face, was I think it would be really cool for us to do a Wild West shootout in Midtown. potentially on Saturdays, and just throwing around some ideas. One of the thoughts that came up was, what if we utilized, or at least talk to the Flying J Wranglers? We could look at funding this, and it would be a great attraction to Midtown, and do a simple 15 minute shootout in Midtown. And then that would help them piggyback off of, attracting more people to their out to the Flying J in the evening. So I think that this would be a really cool addition to the community, and I don't think it would cost a lot of money, and I think it would be something that we could absolutely do. I know that I believe it was Aztec, New Mexico, started doing something like this a few years ago, and they actually attracted big buses that were coming into the community right as these shootouts were taking off, so that people could come and watch this happen, because it was such a cool attraction. Debbie Lee initially was the one that turned me on to this idea, and I just think it's a great idea, and it's something that we haven't done, but it would be a great addition to Midtown and just give people one more reason to visit our community. And it would be very inexpensive. I do want to let you know I've started communication with the New Mexico Film Office, and I would love to see us kind of become more integrated into the film community in the state of New Mexico. They're going to be making me the film liaison for our area, which just means we'll be able to, bring out these site coordinators and really help identify more sites across the community. From a tourism standpoint, the reason that it's valuable is you can actually, the state, anytime something's filmed in the state, they're putting that on a map, and they're creating tours of these different film locations. So if we do have some of these bigger budget films being shot in our area, present some opportunities for tourism. But I also think it introduces a new clientele to our community, where you have these industry people that are coming in with money. And I think that outside tourism from them actually coming in is something that will help us as well. Organically, we can organically grow in that section. Ultimately, I would like to leverage that into, in the next couple of years, potentially hosting a film festival utilizing Spencer Theater, and maybe the other theater in town, and some outdoor venues, but looking at creating a small film festival in Ruidoso, and really working on that as being another unique offering in our community that sets us apart, kind of like Sundance, I think is what it's called, Sundance Music Film Festival. The other thing that I think, everybody always looks at us in tourism like you guys are the advertising department, but one of the things that I think is important to realize about marketing is advertising is one component of marketing, but marketing is also the way that you construct your environment to be friendly and attracting to guests. And so for us, it's the way we can create things in our community, like some of the stuff I mentioned above. Also, some of the stuff that I really think that we need to look at and consider in Midtown. And this is after officing in Midtown, and obviously our Midtown, we need to consider ways to make it more pedestrian friendly. I'm not going to go out there and say, let's shrink the road down to 3 lanes. I already got whipped and spurred on that one pretty good. But I do think that we need to add more crosswalks in Midtown. We need to advocate to the village, to our counselors. I'm deeply concerned about the number of people that sprint across the road, and I don't know how we haven't had somebody hit by a car. There are just not enough crosswalks in Midtown. It's an ADA issue in terms of, older folks being able to easily access a crosswalk to cross the road. And obviously, I know that the sidewalks are never going to be ADA compliant because the state won't be able to actually replace them. They're going to upgrade them so they don't have to meet ADA standards. But I do think that if we have more crosswalks and made it more pedestrian friendly, that's going to be a long-term benefit to our community. And I think it's going to mitigate a potential disaster like somebody getting hit by a car. Come down to my office sometime and we can sit up there and you'll see the number of people sprinting across the street, dodging cars. It's just a matter of time. The other thing about making it more pedestrian friendly is, I was talking to Rodney, and I've noticed this in some other communities, is where we have some of our tree outlet areas, it would be interesting to put in some seating areas And so like I'm talking possibly like little fire pits in some strategic locations. Specifically, the fire pits would be great during the winter. Also just like simple seating areas. So whether it's, like simple benches and stuff, to where some of these people can congregate outside these businesses and give people a comfortable place to relax in Midtown. I just think it would make it more appealing, and I think from a community standpoint, it would really benefit us. And once again, just increase the aesthetic of the district and really add to the value of why people want to come visit us. Another thing, as you guys saw with the mural project, the art installations are an excellent investment. We can do it relatively inexpensively, like we did with the mural project. That has just taken off. It's encouraged other art installations across the community. So I think we need to put our heads together and come up with creative ideas of how do we add more art to our, not just in Midtown, but across our community in ways that are going to continue to attract people to our community. So one other thing that I've thought about, and I'd be curious to see what you guys think is I really think Midtown would benefit from having paid parking. And I know it might sound a little crazy, but I think that the majority of the people that come visit us are all expecting to pay for parking in the communities that they're traveling in from. We can make it a low cost parking, but it would eliminate a couple issues. One is all of the vendors parking on the street compliant parking lots really in Ruidoso. Did I lose you guys again? Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, sorry. But I think that would help add some additional availability up on the street, whereas a lot of the vendors take those spaces. The other thing that I think is we've already seen Grindstone Lake have a huge impact in terms of revenue generation with the parking. If we could add parking in Midtown, paid parking in Midtown, I think it would be extremely beneficial from a revenue generation standpoint, where we could reinvest that into our community, through Parks and Rec doing different things, whether it's, them investing it in certain assets or them reinvesting in, art installations or better parking lots or whatever. One other thing that having the paid parking gives us is the opportunity for an organization like RMA or a private entity to come in and offer valet services. I've seen this service offered across the country in all of these boutique communities that I visit, and I think it would be amazing. And it also addresses the issue of us having remote parking lots. A lot of our parking lots are more remote, except for like right behind where the Hidden Tap is and Brunel's. You've got a couple of parking lots that are pretty remote. So it would help with that. And the Jockey Club is a great example of people in our community loving that amenity. And what it does overall is enhances the aesthetic and the value of our brand. And I think that is what takes us more into the Aspen instead of just being the blue collar Aspen. I hate that terminology. I think we're just as upscale, and we're by far the nicest and best community in the state of New Mexico. And I think if we continue to invest and think towards the future and how we can increase our brand, make us a better, stronger brand, these would really add value overall. Let's see if there's anything else on here important. Nope, that's all I have to touch on, just looking forward. I will stand for any questions you guys may have regarding any of this. Nothing? Okay. So I'm going to touch on a couple other things really quickly then. Just let me get into these. I attached in the agenda the first responders commercial, so you could see that if you'd like to take a look, if we haven't bombarded you with it already on social media. We did a partnership with Matador Network and Airstream where they came into our community, and we got some great publicity out of it. Really awesome partnership with those guys.
Lost you again, Justin.
Man, something's wrong with me.
It's all right. Can you start over with the Matador Network?
Yeah, Matador Network. We partnered with Matador Network, and they were doing something with Airstream where they were traveling across the country. They had a family, former pro skier, and long story short, they they obviously came to our community, stayed at one of the campgrounds, the Midtown Mountain campgrounds, and also did one day out at Grindstone Lake and just had a really good experience here. We got some really high quality B-roll and photography out of the deal, as well as some social media publicity. And then what spun off of that was GMC, in partnership with Airstream, decided to shoot a commercial at Grindstone Lake. So they shot it at Grindstone Lake, Ski Apache, and in the Mountain Gods, and then one location up in Socorro. So because of that partnership, we were able to help leverage that and give them an opportunity to film with us. And it was just an awesome opportunity. Moving forward with Matador, we're looking at the potential to bring in some paragliders, social influencers that are paragliders with them, and also create some additional content just to drive some new market segments to our area, or at least try to penetrate into some new market segments, which is aerial tourism that I'd like to look at in the future. Other than that, again, the Buxton Analytics was the only other thing that I had on my agenda that I wanted to discuss with y'all in terms of presentations, but we're going to table that until further notice. And once we do get ready, I think you guys are going to be really surprised at the power and capability that we're going to have at our disposal. I'll stand.
Does anybody on the committee have any questions for Justin, Kelly, or Carrie? All right,
No
Justin.
questions.
Oh, go ahead.
No questions.
Okay. With that, Justin, do you want to just segue into the new webcam, the discussion and possible action?
Yeah, absolutely. So hopping in here, this was what we had this on the agenda last time, and we went ahead and just decided to table it until this meeting because I wanted to make sure we're going to come out and it would be okay with Judy. If we had some additional funding, but obviously we have the additional funding available now. I would like to buy another webcam. I know that the lake right now has not been identified as an ideal area for the webcam because of the internet at the lake, but there is going to be the opportunity for the webcam to possibly be mounted on the dam, with access being at the bottom of the dam. Basically, they're going to have fiber. So I think that I would like to move forward and purchase a webcam. It's the exact same webcam setup as we have in Midtown. And we can get that added, and I just think it adds to the value of our website having the additional webcam. So if the board finds it beneficial, I would ask for the $2,500 in funding to purchase the webcam asset in anticipation of having fiber at the bottom of the dam and being able to utilize that to promote the scenic beauty of that area.
When do they expect fiber to be put in?
It's hard to say. I know that it's on the list. It's a part of the village build out to get fiber to that. They've said, a couple months. It's hard to pin down exactly because there's always hiccups and different stuff that come into play. But I wouldn't anticipate it being very long from now because they've been working feverishly to get the fiber spread out to all of the village buildings.
Jeff just said they're working on it as we speak, so.
Good.
If that works. All righty. Do I have let's go ahead and make a motion. Do we have a motion? Let me put it that way, for a new webcam at Grindstone Lake.
I make a motion for a new webcam at Grindstone Lake.
Was that Lori?
Yes.
Yes, okay. All righty. Do we have a second?
Melissa will second.
Melissa will second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? None. All righty. Justin, do you want to move on to the adoption of open meeting resolution?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is, let me pull it open. You guys should have the document available to you. but I'm going to go ahead and I'll pull it up and get it on my screen so that you can see it. It's really just a declaration that we have to do annually to declare that we're going to abide by the Open Meetings Act. And, you know, we've got a great village team that makes sure that I'm not screwing stuff up. So let me pull it up here, share screen. It's this one here. Kind of just standard, here we go. This is public meetings for the Lodgers Tax Committee. This is just days out and just following state guidelines for how these open meetings should take place. I won't read line by line what we have to do. But again, we've got a great village team. Obviously, the clerk's office, Bernadine, and all of them that make sure that that we don't mess this
Justin.
up. Adopt a resolution declaring reasonable notice of public meeting.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Lodgers Tax Committee.
Justin, are you still there?
Did you lose me?
Yeah, let's start that one over.
I can hear you now.
Try it again. It was like you were speaking in slow motion.
Okay. Okay. So again, I'm just seeking a resolution to declare I'm seeking a motion for a resolution declaring reasonable notice of public meetings for Lodgers Tax Committee. We just have to adopt this resolution annually, and really, it's just to ensure that we're abiding by the Open Meetings Act. There's nothing in here outside of the norm of what we're used to. We just have to make sure that we're abiding by the. Could you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear. I'll just briefly.
I'm gonna stop screen sharing. I think maybe that's the problem. It's too much upload. This is just the adoption of our Open Meetings Act resolution. It's nothing more than what we're used to, and it's fairly straightforward. It's just keeping us in alignment with state law regarding Open Meetings Acts.
Very good. Glad we got through that. Do we have a motion from the floor to adopt the open meeting resolution for 2021?
I make a motion.
All righty. Let's see. That was Anna. Do we have a second?
Melissa will second.
All right, Melissa seconds. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. We'll go. Good. All righty. Let's see, Rodney, are you still on here? Yeah. We'll move on to the Wingfield Park Master Plan with Rodney.
Yes, sir. I'm still on. So I had presented this earlier in the year again when the budget wouldn't allow or to fund this. That being said, with Judy's report from earlier, I would like to request that the board consider the funding of the Wingfield Park Master Plan. Again, the master plan, the intention is to look at not only the park, but the existing adjacent properties owned by the village for future expansion. This project was identified in the 2019 comprehensive plan, and it is one of the action items from the previous fiscal year from the Parks Department. And so, again, I was just would like to fund that project and to move forward with the planning of that area. I'll stand for any questions regarding that process if y'all have any.
Yeah, nothing's really changed since last meeting, correct?
No.
Just the same, okay. And we're good financially to go forward.
So there is money in the budget to include it. Just a side note, The total cost of the project would be probably around 48.8 when you include GRT. So.
Does the committee have any questions for Rodney before we proceed? All right, if there are no questions, do I have a motion to fund the Wingfield Park Master Plan for $48,000 plus gross receipts tax? Am I on? Yeah.
Melissa will make a motion to approve.
All righty. Do we have a second?
This is Lori. I second.
Okay, Lori seconded. Any discussion? All righty. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think were there three? I think so. All right, any opposed? All righty, motion passes. Let's see, reimbursement for fish stocking, Rodney?
So I have attached a purchase order for fish that was purchased earlier in the year for reference. So what typically happens each year is we spend these funds out of our operating budget, and then we request a reimbursement. If we are to be reimbursed, what we would use with that funding is to fund an additional stocking for this spring and early summer. It would be planned to have 4 additional stockings and combined between Grindstone and Alto. And I would just kind of have to figure out what the best timing. I would prefer to have one as early as the week prior to Easter, and then have one in May and one in June. And then again, have somewhat of a split those orders between Alto and Grindstone.
So this 11,000 goes, it's not just a one-time, it would be spread out over 3 months, is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
That's enough to fund 4 orders.
Okay.
For this fiscal year.
Okay, good deal.
And I'd like to mention, they're of the larger trout that we had been stocking.
Yeah, we had a guest 2 days ago that came home excited. He had caught an 18-inch trout, so he was really excited. All right, does anybody have any questions for Rodney? That's big. Yeah, this has been a great program. I mean, I know last summer and in the past, people get there's something about fishing in the mountains, so it's a big deal. Do we have a motion to reimburse Parks and Recreation for the fish stocking?
Sure. Anna will make that motion.
All right. Do we have a second?
Melissa will second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor for reimbursing?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Okay. Okay, moving on. I think Samantha, are you going to be up? And we will ask, or do you want to, sorry.
So we would like to go into reviewing some of the scopes. As you know, we put RFPs out for tourism director, and in the past we've put out some RFPs for the design team, and so we need to revisit the scopes. However, anybody that is potentially going to respond to these RFPs must get off the meeting, and we need to keep it sort of in a closed session, so we would need to stop displaying on YouTube or wherever we're broadcasting. So if we can take a couple minutes to get situated, Mr. Chairman, that would be great.
That will work. Just hang tight for a second.
Aye.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Thank y'all. Justin, safe travels home.
Thanks, man.
We run it.